Welcome to the Champions of Active Women podcast. In this podcast, we will interview women who have been successful within athletics and beyond. We hope that the amazing women in these interviews encourage and inspire girls and women to be active for a lifetime, to reach their goals, and to break new barriers in sport and life. This podcast is brought to you by the Active Women's Health Initiative in the Sports Medicine Research Institute at the University of Kentucky. The mission of the Active Women's Health Initiative is to optimize health and promote physical activity and wellness for girls and women across the lifespan. We hope you enjoy our conversations and join us in understanding women's health today to ensure women's health tomorrow. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Dee Dugonsky, your host of the Champions of Active Women podcast. Today, I have the pleasure of interviewing Dr. Hanna Hoch. Dr. Hoch is an assistant professor in the Division of Athletic Training at the University of Kentucky and a certified athletic trainer, and the co-director of the Active Women's Health Initiative. She has a patient-centered, whole-person philosophy on clinical practice and has research interests related to female athlete health, wellness, and physical activity. Hanna, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So could you start today by telling me a little bit about the physical activities you engaged in when you were growing up?
Yeah. So for me personally, my physical activities that I engaged in when I was young are a little non-organized sport related. So I showed horses in our local county fair. And I did that from like third or fourth grade until through my freshman year of college. And then I danced at a local school of dance in the little town that I grew up in for about 10 years.
Great. So how did that transition into what you do today? What do you enjoy doing now?
Yeah, interesting. So for me now, what I do for physical activity is I run, and I really enjoy running. I found that when I turned 30. So for 5 years now, I've been running. But for me, horseback riding really taught me to value and love the country. I grew up on a farm, and the resources that come from living on a farm and engaging in farming and with farm animals. So it taught me to really love animals, and it taught me to really love the outdoors. So for me, that means taking my daughter horseback riding. So now that we live here in Kentucky, we've got access to those resources. So I love going to the barns with her. I will say I'm a fair weather friend, though, so we do that a lot more in the summer and the warm. And then also with dancing, through high school, college, I enjoyed dancing with friends. And then now I have my daughter engaged in dancing as well, because I think that one, it gives you access to a new different cohort of peers than she goes to school with. So I always valued that when I danced. And then also it just gives some physical activity to her daily routine, which I really valued when I was younger, and I hope that she values too.
Great. So you mentioned finding running later in life. How did you find running, and did you have to try out other activities before you found running?
So I was a very physically inactive adult, probably starting in high school through until I was 30. And I found running by a doctoral student that I had. So I was pregnant. I was 8 months pregnant at the time, and a doctoral student asked me if I'd be interested in running a 5K with her around Christmas time. It was the Jingle Bell 5K in Norfolk, Virginia. And I was kind of like, I don't know. I was very pregnant at the time. I'd actually never run a mile in my entire life continuously. And I just thought that it seemed like not something I should do, but I said, sure, why not? Let's try it. So I had Margaret in June, and the race was in November, right before Thanksgiving, and I kept pushing off, kicking the can to actually try to run until September. And then I figured that now was the time. So I can remember I got an app on my phone, and it was a Couch to 5K app, and it was helping me run longer and longer. And I can remember the very first day that I ran a mile. The entire mile. It was a slow mile, but I was 30 and a half. I was with my husband, who was the first time he'd ever run a mile in his entire life too. We were pushing Margaret, and we did it. And then I ran that race, that 5K. My goal was to finish under an hour, and we did it in just under 45 minutes. So we were pretty excited about that. And I took a break because I didn't know if I liked running at that time. And then January came, and I decided that I really did like it, and I kind of missed it for that month and a half over the holidays and traveling. And I also just wanted to make different life choices. So from that point, I just started running, and I signed up for an 8K, which was the next longest race that we did. And then that same year, I ran my first half marathon, and I've been running half marathons. I've done one full ever since.
Yeah, what a great story and a cool transformation and finding this activity that you really enjoy. So how has that impacted, you talked about making different lifestyle choices. How has that impacted being active? How's that impacted other things in your life?
It taught me that I can do anything if I just put my mind to it. So that to have never run ever a mile to running 13.1 frequently-ish, I should say ish, because some people run more than I do, and even venturing for a full, and then now just running consistently 4 or 5 times a week. I never once thought I could ever run a 5K, let alone be able to do that. So one, it teaches you to believe in yourself, which has then transpired beyond just running. So I found that I can do a lot of things if I just decide I want to do it, and I decide that I can do it. And the positive reinforcement of that will help you achieve a lot of your goals. It also really teaches you to be determined, but then also, I want to use the word regimented, I guess. So to run and to get the miles in, you need to do those things. You've got to schedule activity, which was something I never knew was important, let alone did. So to actually say, okay, I've got to fit it in my day. Where is that going to happen? For me, it's the morning. It's the first 1 or 2 things I do when I wake up. And that's just taught me to make physical activity and exercise part of my life, which when I was younger, riding horses and dancing, that was 1 day a week. We did that. Sometimes 2 with riding horses. The more older I got, the less I did it. So it's really made me look at my schedule. And so once you schedule exercise, then you schedule a lot of other things like your work activities, and you learn to really value your time in order to make it all fit, which I think is important too.
Great. So what about other health decisions? Has it impacted your health in any other ways? Obviously, it's good for your health, but have you made any other different health decisions because of your activity?
Yeah, it definitely taught me how to eat better. So I think, I going through college and even early adulthood, post-college, was never the best at eating habits. And so to run and to run well, for me, I found that one, I needed to lose weight. So it was a lot of weight to move around. So I journeyed through just learning more about nutrition and understanding nutrition. And then once I was at a weight that was healthy for me, it was more just learning how to take in the best nutrition for long runs, or the best nutrition to recover from strength training sessions, or just really relearning how to cook. I used to love cooking. I kind of went through a phase where I didn't do a lot of, I still cooked, but not fun recipes and things like that. And so then really learning how to engage with social media. I do a lot of Instagram recipes, and how to cook again, and how to make sure those meals represent the carbohydrates, the proteins, the fats, the healthy fats, the snack foods, and all those types of things, and then how to try and integrate that into young children.
Yeah, that's a challenge always. I don't think anyone has. So what about injuries that through your process of being active, either as a young person or into adulthood, have you sustained any injuries?
So I personally haven't sustained a lot of injuries that have caused me to stop exercising. Right now, I am battling a hip issue that I did have to not run over the weekend. And that's challenging for me to do, my mind, and adapt to that of not being able to run. It was my longest run prior to leading to my half in a couple of weeks. So that was hard for me. But as an athletic trainer, I've witnessed a lot of people sustain injuries that are career ending or season ending, or have to take them out for an extended period of time. And I think for me, just that the strength and that mentality I was talking about, to be determined, you have to go back to that. And you have to know that, you can overcome the injury, and that you can work hard, and you have to listen to your body, which I don't necessarily always practice what I'm preaching right now, but I do know that that's beneficial to listen to your body, because your body is telling you something for a reason. And you have to be in tune with that. And working with athletes as a healthcare provider is always interesting, to have to try to listen to their body through them, and making sure that they're telling you what their body's saying, and not what they really want it to say, and help them understand the benefit of treatment and stopping and waiting, and seeing that through. And then if they aren't able to return to their sport, potentially helping them identify a new way of being physically active, and understanding that there are different ways to remain healthy, and to remain engaged and active, and it might just not be what they've been doing for a long time. So you do have to help them through that journey, and then identify the resources to learn how to love or do something different. They don't necessarily have to love it as much as the sport that's gotten them where they are, and maybe they won't, or maybe they will.
Yeah, we hope that they could find something that they would love. We all would like to have something we'd love to do in addition to making us healthy. But, sometimes it takes a while to find those things. Good.
The journey.
So how would your life, if you imagine your life never having been active or maybe not finding running most recently, how would your life be different?
It'd be pretty different. I know for me now, having run a lot of half marathons and trained for a marathon and run a marathon, no distance is too far for me. So I think about my day and running back and forth to different buildings or walking to different places, and 15-minute to 20-minute walk is really nothing. And that's kind of how I look at it. You build enough time and you just do it. It's in the grand scheme of all things, it's nothing to do. And so I see my daily routine and what I look ahead on my schedule, just like, okay, this is what I have to do and I have to get it done to achieve the goal. Two, I would not be nearly as engaged and as active with my kids. I never valued taking a walk at night. Prior to being 30, I never valued going to races and running, 1Ks or 1 milers with Margaret or pushing Henry. I wouldn't have valued that now. I can confirm that I probably wouldn't have valued that now. And I love to eat and I love to cook and I love to learn how to make new things. And I think not having started running and really trying to learn more about nutrition, I wouldn't do that either. And most people around me do think I'm a good cook. My daughter does not agree with that, but I try to convince her that
someday maybe she will.
And so I think that would be different. And so Sundays are meal prep days for me, and it's therapeutic to make lunch for the week and to prep dinners for the week and to get all that written down. And I like that too.
Great. So what advice would you give to girls and women about playing sports or being active?
You can identify your dreams and you can do them. It might not be the, a first place podium champion. I tell my daughter I don't go to win the races I run in, I go to run in them. And you can do it, and you can find a way to engage in activity, whether it's through your community or it's through club sports if you're in college, or if you're in elementary or middle school through the YMCA. Like there's a place for you. It's just a matter of identifying the resources and then deciding that you're worth it, and that taking the time to help yourself and do what you want to do. For me, being a mom, it was really looking back and saying, I'm not taking care of myself. I'm not going to be able to take care of this child. And so potentially that was that doctoral student's way of nudging me in that direction. I don't know. It just took me finding a community, which was very small, just an N of 2 of running with and being not afraid to step out and say, okay, I'm going to do this. So I think just follow your heart, look at your dreams, and know that you can do it. It might not, be the first place finish, but is that what you want? Or is it really just to engage and find a new hobby or a new passion or a new way to be healthy?
Great. Anything else you'd like to add today?
I don't think so.
Awesome. Well, thank you for talking with me, and I appreciate your time.
Perfect. Thank you for having me.